Good evening and welcome. My name is Gitel Ruiz Nicholas, and I will be your host. Violence is all around us. How do you touch the hearts and minds of people to make a change? At times, drastic measures are necessary to be heard. Our segment this evening is all about illustrating the power of a small group of individuals. Nine Black men, known as the Hunger Nine, showed their love for their Miami Dade community by going on a 21-day hunger strike. I can't even do 2 days. So I really applaud that effort. And certainly, it's a journey that was not easy, but in light of their dedication to collectively solving the social ills of their community, they did it and they did not break fast. So it is a pleasure for me to introduce to you Brother Lyle, the founder of the Circle of Brotherhood. We also have Brother Leroy, who is part of the leadership of the organization, as well as Brother Philip. So, gentlemen, welcome and thank you so much for joining us. So, please tell us briefly a quick introduction about who you are and how did you get involved with the Circle of Brotherhood?
Well, I'll jump in and start there. And just to say, for technical and spiritual reasons, for sure, it's impossible for one individual to be a founder of a circle because I'd be standing all by myself. And I say that to say that our coming together was definitely divine and it was definitely orchestrated by a higher power and force than us. And just to give you a backdrop on that, it was around 2012. You were talking about violence, and I know a lot of people are very familiar with it's a syndicated television program that actually, I guess, Miami put it on the map. One of those reality crime shows that's called First 48. And during that show in that time period, one of the major characters and detectives on there, who was a Detective Ford, now I think now he's an assistant chief in North Miami today. There was a rash of murders that were taking place in Liberty Square. And what struck him the most about it is how quickly they were becoming cold cases. He'd been doing homicide investigations for 27 years. So I want your listeners to kind of really visualize what he has seen in the last 27 years doing homicide investigations in Liberty City and Overtown and Little Haiti and Havana and so forth. But the point I'm making is that he wanted to do something about it. He went to standing district commissioner at that time, Michelle Spence Jones, and presented her with the issue. And she summoned a few of us together so he could present to us what he was experiencing. We were meeting for the first time, many of us in that small group meeting, but we made a promise to ourselves that we would never allow the issues that bring about our differences to shine larger than what we could do together. And that was the initial birthing of the Circle of Brotherhood. We didn't come together to be an organization. We came together in a very organic way. And our first task was that we must first become brothers. And that's what gave birth to the Circle of Brotherhood. I will say that we took on a whole nother level of momentum and organizational development when Brother Leroy Jones, who serves as our lead organizer, came on board and really put some tenets around helping us grow and develop into a structure. And we became a nonprofit in 2014, and we've been organized that way since.
Super, super. So, Brother Leroy, with that vision that Brother Lyle just kind of explained, tell me a little bit. I know one of the things you're mostly well known for is your 21-day fast. Would you like to share with us what that journey was like?
Wow. So a few of us brothers was invited to this meeting at Tecosi Park. And it was around gun violence. So at that meeting, we was there for security, just to make sure that the women, because it started as a walk march to the park, and they just wanted to make sure that the traffic was stopped if the law enforcement wasn't there and that everything went smooth. Little did we know it was end up being about 50 women. I would say all, but maybe one was African American descent, and they was talking about the what they had went through with losing their child to gun violence. And out of the background, we heard one of the young brothers that got killed, King Carter, father, speaking, and his voice was so loud. It seemed like he was right up on us, but we was maybe 30 yards away from him. And as he was speaking about it, it was cutting through my body, like his words was like very aggressive. And as we was walking back, me and some of the guys in the brotherhood had a conversation about what can we do that have not been done to shed some light on gun violence that was taking place in the inner city. And at that same night, we came up with an idea of doing a hunger strike. We didn't have no idea of how many days it was going to take. We didn't have no idea where we was going to do it at. The conversation just came up, and we called the executive meeting with some of the other executive members in the brotherhood, and we pitched the idea, and the support came from there. So that was the birth of the Hungerr 9.
Super, super. And Brother Philip, perhaps you too participated. Tell me, what were the challenges? What were the feeling of triumph you felt after that process of 21, or during that process for that matter? No worries.
So thank you so much for your question, Giselle, and the opportunity to be here with my brothers, Circle of Brotherhood, on your show. I think that for me, needless to say, there was a personal journey, and then there was a communal journey in the process. My personal journey was, as Brother Leroy raised the question, I think we all in the Circle of Brotherhood are always asking, what can we do for our motto is Black men solving their own community's problems. So the question is always, what can I do? What more can I do in order to really affect a change and be the change that I want to see? So I wasn't there that evening when Brother Leroy, that he just described, at the mothers who lost their children to gun violence assembly. But when he came back and he presented the idea, and there was and Brother Lau called, and Brother Leroy called a few of us together to, what do we think about it? And immediately for me, the least I could do is stand in the gap and commit myself and my body to that challenge in order to bring light, because we knew we weren't going to stop gun violence, right? I'm doing this. That wasn't what it was going to do. But what we can stop doing is gun violence as a norm. And I think that really came out of that affected me in the process was when we came out. I realized not only am I a bigger part of the problem by not doing as much as I can, but I'm a much bigger part of the solution when I do step in and give myself to a cause bigger than myself. And I couldn't have did it to what you said about the 2 days. I can hardly go to 12 o'clock noon now without breaking the fast. But there's something about doing it together collectively with the 9 brothers. And I end on the note, my son told me before we went in, he said, Dad, just don't be the first one to tap out. And I think all of us felt the same way, which allowed us to go as long as we did.
And I guess to say something, when we are dedicated to a purpose that we feel is bigger than us, that alone, I imagine, might have been a great motivation. Just let's keep going, let's keep going. So I commend you guys for that. So you've been in existence about 11 years, right? 2012 you started, and it looks like you have expanded to really impact different facets of life, socially, economically, and so forth. So tell me a little bit about the transitional counseling program that you have, because it is something that is so needed, as well as your leadership development and life skill institute training that you have.
I guess I'll start and chiming in, but I do want to, for historical purposes and the sacrifice of these dear brothers that you have here, that hunger strike lasted for 21 and a half days. I don't,
Oh,
I don't want to cheat them out of that half a day.
absolutely.
And so I just wanted to say that for historical purposes. One of the things that happened when we came together as men is that there was a natural, organic mentoring of brother to brother, man to man. And since we were galvanizing so many Black men, and we're from the streets to the suites, we want to be crystal clear that people understand we're an organization of Black men from all walk of life, different religious backgrounds, political backgrounds. Some of our individuals have served double-digit years in prison. Others have never seen the back of a police car, which makes us kind of an anomaly when you talk about a group of Black men working together. And so naturally, one of our tenets that has held us up in terms of transitional counseling, and I mention it this way because anything that we do external, we do with each other internal. And so our philosophy is whether you're dealing with a particular area, let he who is best qualified for that lead that area. And so obviously dealing with the population that we're dealing with and talking about crime and violence, you're dealing with a lot of individuals who are returning citizens coming home from incarceration. You're dealing with a lot of youth that are involved in the criminal justice system on a DJJ level. And so who better to deal and help those brothers and young men understand what they're doing than those who have already transitioned out of that lifestyle. And so a lot of our mentorship and counseling has been successful because you have the right people talking to the right people. And I'll just close by also saying that we were able to develop some of those things into programs. The whole life skills piece, Brother Leroy was extremely instrumental in really our very first county-wide successful program called Employ Miami-Dade, which started out as an employment training program. But however, before the individuals in our program went on to their specific field to work in, they had to go to 4 weeks of life skills, mental toughness, basically trauma and life recovery, and then go into their fields. And I think that is what separates us from what other organizations may do in terms of employment training and transitional counseling.
So those 4 weeks of training determines whether or not they go to the next level. Is that what I'm hearing?
It really does, but I think more impactfully what those 4 weeks do, again, there's a lot of repetitiveness in individuals who go in and out of incarceration, in and out of unemployment, in and out of poverty, and back to it again, because we have not been able to be in a place, in a space to resolve our life personal trauma. And so what that 4 weeks does more than anything is, in a very safe, and I have to say too, a very scientific but comfortable environment, it allows those individuals to release things that they may have never released before in their life.
Wow.
And I think that's the key to those 4 weeks, as well as the employment training they get.
That is awesome. And I think very often men internalize what they're feeling. And I imagine the feeling of safety among other men really help them open up and go through that healing process. I think that's amazing. That's amazing. Any other programs that you want to expand on or just talk a little bit about? Obviously the life skills program. I know you guys are big on economic development. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Right here in the Institute, where we located at, we have accessibility to not only men coming together and women coming together, but economic opportunities here, So the Circle of Brotherhood is in partnership with NANA, which offers, and Tools for Change, which offers small loans and small grants to, and I would say a large majority of the clients are returning citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So all the programs that we offer here, we often feature and to let the people know that, we don't care about your background, what you've been through. Come here and get some assistance from us. So we big on economics because we know, the community is only as strong as their economic base. And if we don't build our economic base, then we'll only keep on continue to hope for social economics to heal us when it's more than just the social part we want through. We need the economic piece as well. So, and I want to touch another thing, what Brother Lau said too, and I often say it's like Brother Lau is the best I've ever seen in transforming people,
Wow.
and I'm not saying that because he on this line. I say it all the time, in my 30 years of doing this and going to all kind of trainings and programs like Brother Lau is, when it comes to transforming individuals mentally, Brother Lau is by far great in that category. But I think the best part that I like about the Employee Miami-Dade program is that it brings people from different neighborhoods who normally wouldn't get along, who normally wouldn't go in the other person's neighborhood for anything together, and know that they have to see each other every day and deal with each other. So while we socially building them, we also broaden their horizon to know that they're able to go in other neighborhoods where they felt that they wasn't wanted, because now they have built alliance with people from those neighborhoods. So for me, that's the greatest part of this joint effort that we're doing.
Super, super. Are there any criteria that are required should one want to go after the grant? And I think it's a great idea when you have returning citizens really taking control of their livelihood, owning a business and doing things. What are some of the things that you look for, and what are some of the component in terms of assistance that you provide?
So it's very simple, basic stuff, being incorporated, having a LBT from the county, one if you're in the city, in most cases, proving that you've been in business a year. Oftentimes we have programs where you can be startup, but it's very, very simple. Like it's most of the questions just asking you common questions about yourself and your business. So
Got it. Got it.
it's not around.
Great. We're taking a short break and we'll be right back. We are back with the Circle of Brotherhood leadership, I should say, since Brother Lyle said, it's a collective organization with leaders who are making a tremendous impact in our community. So we were talking about the different programs. And again, I think it's wonderful, the kind of hope that you provide, particularly to juvenile, particularly to returning citizens. But I also understand you have a program with police departments throughout Miami-Dade. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the motto motto of our organization is Black men solving our own community problems. And so when you look at the plethora of community problems that we have, whether you're here in South Florida or specifically in Miami or Miami-Dade, or you're somewhere else across the country, we know that police and community relationship is high priority in terms of problematic. But one of the things about the Circle of Brotherhood is that I'm going to use the word integrity because we're also an activist-led organization. And when there are things that are wrong, if you're wrong, we step to you. But we also are solution-oriented. And we know that there has always been issues between how Black and brown folk are treated by policing agencies. And through the relationships and partnerships that we built, and through us being willing to step into vulnerable spaces, we've developed a relationship here locally now with about 4 or 5 different police departments, led by the city of Miami and Miami-Dade, where actually their cadets and in their leadership, they have to come through our training. They spend a full day with the Circle of Brotherhood and some of our trainers, and they go through what we call Police Community Relations 101. We don't want to think that after one day with us that everything is going to be solved. But that training does everything from allowing those officers to get a cultural reality check, allowing those officers to get a personal reality check, allowing them to interact with members of the community or youth in ways that they never would have interacted before. And it increases their understanding of not only who we are and who they are, but what proper community and police relations look like. And I'll say this, I know there's all types of police trainings that take place. There's sensitivity training that takes place. There's the diversity, equity, and inclusion training. Our training is transformational. And all of those who experience it, they all, for the most part, say, I wasn't expecting what I received. And so it's something that we look to duplicate with other police departments, not just locally, but around the country. A lot of murders that receive national attention could be prevented if some other cities invested in the type of training that we do.
Super. It's so important. So important. And I'm glad to hear that you're looking at offering this training to other parts of the country, because let me tell you, it looks like we've gone backward. It doesn't seem like we've made much progress since Rodney King. In fact, we're hearing more and more police brutality. So I'm so glad to hear that. I know the Circle of Brotherhood recently received a $1 million grant from the city of Miami. It sounds like a lot of money. Tell me, what are these funds? What will they be allocated for?
Well, let's start off saying that we are in the process of receiving funds. And I think it's important for the community to know that. We're talking about funds that come, these are national, federal emergency relief funds that were provided to cities all across the country in response to the COVID pandemic and to the social injustices that were uncovered from the George Floyd murder. And I guess it's been about 2 years ago where the mayor of the city of Miami, Francis Suarez, called us to a press conference where he announced that he wanted $1 million of those funds to go toward the work that the Circle of Brotherhood does. And we've been in a 2-year battle just to get it passed through the commission. And now we're in the paperwork side of the battle with the tedious back and forth things to establish it. But the 3 areas that those fundings are to concentrate on, one is community wellness. People really take for granted what people went through and are still going through mentally from the COVID pandemic. And so a lot of that, and by the way, even our violence prevention work, which it also deals with, it has a health and wellness component attached to it. And then also helping our public housing residents who are being moved and transitioned in so many different ways, stabilize themselves and their families. That's the intent on what those funds should be used for. And again, I would encourage people to go back and look at the history of what the Circle of Brotherhood had to go through just to get those
Wow.
passed. And I want to say this, one of the things I'm most proud about that experience, I don't remember the date, but you all go back and look, and Leroy Jones approaches the podium at City Hall, where we're promised $1 million and someone wants to give us 250,000 instead of the $1 million. We turned it down.
Good for you.
We turned it down unequivocally. We're not an organization that can be bought. And in the words of Brother Leroy Jones, we will no longer settle for less than what we deserve or need to do the work that needs to be done.
Wow, 2 years. I've never heard of that, because usually cities, they're on a fiscal year basis, and it's just mind blowing. I just don't understand it. But I hope the funds come to you because obviously the reasons and the type of programs you're targeting with those funds are definitely needed. Definitely needed. So, obviously, one of my great pleasure was meeting a gentleman from your organization, and basically he said, "We are in Pompano Beach, Broward County." I say, "Yes." I was so happy because so much happens in Miami-Dade. But when it comes to Broward County, as a Broward girl, I'm always looking for such activities to really kind of come our way. So I was pleased to hear that. Tell us how this new expansion is going to work and how can people really, how can they participate in the programs in Pompano?
So as the brotherhood grows, right? So we've been fortunate enough to have people from other cities now and states reach out to us wanting to start a chapter. And not long ago, Pastor Brandon Jones, he became a pastor in one of the churches in Pompano. And because he's a member of the Circle of Brotherhood, he invited us to this walk rally they had when this young lady was killed in a car by her boyfriend. And the baby was in the car where the car went into the lake. Fortunately, they saved the baby, but the young lady passed. And out of that, the conversation came about starting a chapter in Pompano Beach. And I want the community to know that these past 3.5 months, we've been having men in Pompano come through the orientation training to be members. Just this last Thursday, they completed their CPR class. So what we pride ourselves in, not only, like Brother Lau said, having brothers who best serve at what the ideal or the problem or the issue is, lead us. And I think that's one of our most sincere strength in the brotherhood is that Brother Lau says it too. There's no big eyes, no little U's. Whoever best at what the issue is, that's who we let lead. Right? It don't have to be Brother Lau. It don't have to be me. It don't have to be Brother Philip. Whoever best lead. And so they and to be a member of the Circle of Brotherhood, we offer CPR class. So every member in the group that finished orientation, the Pompano guys just completed a CPR class and signed up for the free life insurance that every member has that we offer last Thursday. And within the next month, they'll be graduating. And so they'll be official executive members of the Circle of Brotherhood Pompano Broward Committee chapter. So we're excited about that.
That is great. That is really good. And Brother Philip, you've been a little bit quiet, and I really want to give you an opportunity to really close the segment in terms of being part of the leadership group, the growth of the organization you've experienced. Why don't you share with us what you've seen over the last few years?
So, people don't really care what you know until they know that you care.
Mm.
And one of the greatest things that the Circle of Brotherhood has done over the past few years is establish a reputation in our community for men who care about
Yes.
the trajectory of their community. And this is, you can't say enough about that, because every statistic you look at, Black people are on the bottom, and any statistic that you look at that associates people with being on the bottom, you can tie a fatherless home or a lack of a male presence in the lives of those children and of those people. So the Circle of Brotherhood over the past few years, I can't even tell you the encouragement that I get from the personal relationships that we have amongst the brotherhood. But in the same respect, Sister Gitel, there is a hope that comes along when our people see us, and there is an inspiration that comes particularly from the youth when they see us working on their behalf. Because too oftentimes we have a lot of talk and not a lot of action. So as Brother Lau mentioned earlier, our membership from the streets to the suites, meaning from those brothers who've done double-digit prison sentences to brothers who are sitting at the top of some of the most powerful organizations in Miami-Dade County, commune together in the spirit and in the love of brotherhood. And that is one of the things that, me being 52 years old, I have begun to see being a reality amongst, small groups in our community. And that's a result of the Circle of Brotherhood and all of the different organizations, because we have Muslims, we have Christians, we have agnostics, we have preachers, imams, we have blue collars, white collars, black collars, all kind of collars. And across the board, one of the things that we just need to see more of is people putting their money and their bodies and their work behind the things that they say with their mouths. And the Circle of Brotherhood has established a reputation to be an organization of brothers that does that. So that's been really, in a nutshell, one of the greatest values that and that's one of those, you can't put a price tag on it, And Brother Lau may want to mention it. The best there was recently, because we can't talk enough about this, especially June being gun violence month. There was the Circle of Brotherhood hosted a basketball game here just a few weeks ago that brought two neighborhoods together and several other surrounding neighborhoods that literally you could throw a rock from one doorstep to the other, but they've been killing each other.
Oh, wow.
And the Circle of Brotherhood was able, in the context of that love, of that brotherhood, of this building that we have here, the Dorothy Bendross Mendengal Social and Economic Institute, which is our home base, held a basketball game and an evening where those brothers got together. Not only did they not have any altercations, but not even a piece of trash was left on the floor. And that says something about the power of the love and the unity that can happen when brothers set themselves up to solve their own community's problems.
Very well said, Brother Philip. So, I'm really, I am very impressed with the work that you guys are doing, and I want to wish you continued success in all that you do. But as a nonprofit organization, if somebody wants to contribute or donate, please let us know. How can they do that?
I'll say two areas, and then one. I think it's important to say this quickly, because you started off talking about the hunger strike that took place, which really gave us worldwide exposure. And what happened from that, a lot of people don't understand that right here in the city of Miami, you have the Circle of Brotherhood, who is touted as one of the top 5 violence prevention and intervention agencies in the entire country. This is coming from the Department of Justice. And so we formalized our passion and our expertise into a solution. And we look forward to expanding on that. So if you want to connect us to large donors or organizations, you can do that. Or if you just want to help in some kind of way and contribute from your own pocket, the best thing to do is to go to our website, which is www.circleofbrotherhoodmiami.org. There's a link there where donations can be made, but there's also a link for you to see the different activities and what we're actually involved in, and volunteer to do some work with the organization. It doesn't always have to be about donating funds. We have community meetings every Tuesday night, 5120 Northwest 24th Avenue, the Dr. Dorothy Bendross Mendigo Social and Economic Institute. Come to those meetings from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and get involved. And to our sisters who are out there, the sisters that have been drawn to this work, there's now a similar meeting that takes place right in our facility where the sisters can come together in a circle of healing, support, and transformation. But going to our website will give people the best insight on how to support this work.
Excellent, excellent. Once again, gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You
Back in 1942, Mahatma Gandhi went on a hunger strike to bring peace between the Hindus and the Muslims. 9 members of the Circle of Brotherhood also embarked on a 21-day hunger strike to bring about change in their communities. It is all about taking responsibility and loving your community. Some of you may not necessarily identify with the hunger strike, but it's important for us to understand that participating in marches, sending letters to people who are responsible for certain legislation, and finding a way to have your voices be heard is one of the best ways to ensure that we are actively participating in what's taking place around us. So I urge you, find a cause, find a way to ensure that whatever topic or issue that you identify with, be proactive one way or another. It may not require a hunger strike. It may not require marches or rallies, but there are ways that you can ensure that you are getting the community together and building it. So once again, I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. And until next Saturday, you have a wonderful, wonderful time. Good night.